I'm joined today by Michelle Hamilton, a psychologist here in Lloydminster. Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time here today. Now, school is obviously a very stressful time in itself, and now this year with COVID, it's kind of ramped up. Just first off, though, how natural is it to be stressed, and should parents and students be a little concerned about their stress levels here heading back to school?
Well, I think, the back to school time of the year is often, a bit of a stressful and anxiety provoking time for many families, the parents feeling pressure to get the kids prepared, and for children, the experience of new people and new settings. On top of that, of course, this year we have COVID, and the uncertainty of many of the potential scenarios. But I think one important point that I want to make at the outset is imagine how far we've come in the last 5 months. When I did an interview with you back in March, and all of the uncertainty that we faced then with this pandemic that suddenly created such sudden and unexpected change in our lives when we had to shut down schools and offices and so on. We've come so far, and we know so much more now. And so one thing I think is really important is to focus more on what we do know. And we know a lot more and have hopefully been accepting the fact that some of the things we can do to keep ourselves safe, such as wearing masks and sanitizing very carefully and maintaining our social distances, these are important continuing preventative measures that we're all going to have to accept and do our best to adapt to. So modeling for the children and all of us, the idea of coming to accept the reality that the pandemic hasn't gone away, but we've got to work with what we know and continue to go forward back to what might be a little bit more of a normal life.
Now, is that something maybe you suggest for both parents and children if either of them are feeling stressed, just to kind of control the controllables, as you say, and accept what our future is going to hold and what it's going to look like here for the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like in all situations of transition and stress and change, there's so many things we can't control and that we are not sure. Uncertainty is very anxiety provoking for many people. But in those times, it's especially important to focus on what you can control. And so again, that really specifically means focusing on your own behaviors, and of course your own attitudes, and sort of willingness to accept, and to be flexible and adaptive, as opposed to the rigid, reactive, or kind of angry stance that some people might be taking in light of some of the restrictions or COVID precautions.
And now, is there anything else that maybe parents can do? Obviously, kids are going to be going back into some fairly uncertain times. Is there anything parents can do to help their children, whether their children are feeling anxiety, to help them kind of de-stress?
hmm Well, first and foremost, as I've kind of said already, I think it's important for parents to try their best to model both acceptance and precautions, and also calm. And so to just like imagine the adapting over the years of all the different things we've come to take as such normal ways of operating, like putting kids in car seats and wearing seatbelts and so many other things that wasn't always the normal behavior, but we learned and became very normal practice. So to practice mask wearing, to get some experience with getting used to wearing it, and accepting the fact that these continued precautions could continue on for a long time. I think that the more we can focus on the excitement, the positives about going back to school for the children, to really try to redirect the talk and the children's focus to what they're looking forward to, what's going to be fun, what have you missed, what are you most excited to kind of return to. So it's really important for parents to try to really direct their children to focus more on what is hopeful and what we have control over.
Now, one last thing before I let you go. Obviously, parents are going to be concerned about their children, but how concerned should they be about their children going back to school into these new realities?
both children and adults really can be very resilient and adaptive, and so we want to expect that the kids will adapt, and probably a lot more easily than the adults in some ways. So you know what, I feel really excited and hopeful for the teachers and for the students, getting ready to get back to school. And different than most years, but on the other hand, some things are the same as always.
All right, Michelle, really appreciate getting to chat with you once again. Thank you so much for doing this interview today.